Hey y'all, welcome to my YouTube channel. It's Victoria. I wanted to talk to you guys about something that I was not aware of, sadly, was not aware of until last semester, and it had a very strange effect on me. Like y'all know, I started my grad school and I started my doctorate in educational psychology, but before choosing ed psych, which was literally 2 weeks before the deadline was due, I was actually applying to all cognitive neuro programs. That's just what I wanted to do. But I chose this program because my advisor, she was a cognitive psychologist and was telling me about how I can get a certificate in neuroscience. So I was like, okay, it's the best of both worlds. And what was most attractive to me was that I would be in an area that's pretty diverse. You have very large affluent Black community here, but then you have some really low SES communities here, and I don't know, I just feel it was a pretty diverse spot compared to some of the other schools I was applying to, which did not have much diversity. I mean, one school literally told me yeah, no, we're traditional here. Traditional! They told me they're traditional. So as in the top, the main researchers and the people with power are white males, and they're not interested in diversifying the population. So I said no to that school, obviously. But yeah, so I came here excited for the possibility of having diversity in my research studies and all that stuff. But then I took classes that really opened my eyes, thankfully, in a good way. I learned that we don't know a whole lot about Black brains, brown brains. We don't know a lot about what's going on under there. And I don't know why, but it was just so hard for me to just take that in. Here I am wanting to make a change and bring more underrepresented populations to STEM and all that stuff, and then but systemically we are still super racist in psychology and neuroscience. What? I mean, to be told we're traditional here, or a lot of times when I was speaking to advisors and researchers from different schools, they're yeah, we know it's a problem, but also we primarily have access to white, higher SES population, so that's what we're gonna do. So it's just taking the easy way out. But I mean, I know there's trade-offs both ways, but just to know that there's an issue and that everyone knows, or a lot of people know that there's an issue here, but we're not doing anything about it in a real way. I was just what do I do with that? How do, especially as a grad student, right? You don't have as many resources. I can't just do whatever I want. I'm still under, my limitations of a grad student, financially, and just there's a reason why, right? And it's hey, well, I want to diversify my populations. How do I practically do that? There are some articles that were really helpful in just helping me dissect what's going on, and obviously talking with people. Like I said, the school that I'm at, they're really great about wanting to diversify their populations. Well, many of the advisors the researchers here are interested in that and recognize it to be a problem. And even with the stuff that we do know about Black and brown brains, it's usually at a deficit. Why are they worse? I mean, there's one article that was talking about how Black brains are smaller than white brains, and they try to make it all spoofy and ooh, they're Caucasian brains versus Negro genius. It was something stupid like that. I'm okay, it was retracted. Don't worry, it was retracted. But that idea of there being a deficit with Black and brown brains still is like trickling through the pipeline in low SES, right? Like if you have like low socioeconomic status, which can be measured by wealth, income, education status, job prestige, among like a lot of other things. There's an article that says not everyone is weird. Is that what it's called? Oh, most people are not weird, by Heinrich Hein and Heinrich et al. But their article says like most people are not weird, and that was really what started opening my eyes into this whole journey of like, what does it mean to like, what does a Black brain look like, what does a brown brain look like, and how do I diversify my populations, and knowing like why it's necessary and why the need for it. So weird stands for Western, educated, industrialized, rich, democratic, and they're just saying like most of the samples that we get, most of the people that we study fall within those categories, and that's a problem because that's not like, I mean, if I said anything and you're like, that ain't me, then we don't know you, like, and I'm overgeneralizing and I'm oversimplifying it. I know that, like 100% I am, but like it's, the problem is still there at large, and we need more diversity and understanding them, like not at a deficit, but just like what is happening, right? What is a normal brain? Like what is normal behavior? Because we're observing such a small portion of like our population as a humankind, and like this is the standard, this is normal. And I like, again, oversimplifying, but this is how my brain works. But when I was like reading this, I was like, how are we different than the people that we say are so cruel and mean? Because they like created like a list of what we should be, and it was like everybody else that's not that, they're not worthy, they're wrong, they need to be fixed, they need to be corrected. And it's like, who said that you got to choose like the standard? Like how are you able to tell, like how are you able to choose what population is the standard, like the gold standard? So that's why anything that's deviant from that is wrong now, like it needs to be fixed and like corrected. Like what? I'm glad that it was written, and I hope it like continues to raise awareness and that things start changing, and it's not just one of those things that we're like, yeah, cool, weird, not everyone's weird, we need to diversify our populations, cool, but then continues doing like whatever is normal and most convenient. Like I hope that doesn't continue. But anyway, I'm gonna give you just like a couple articles, and I'm gonna read it off because I haven't memorized all of them in my head, but I have read all of them, and they all raise some pretty good questions that I think we should all be thinking about, especially if you are going into cognitive neuroscience, psychology, sociology, any of the social sciences, because this is not just neuroscience, but a lot of them are like kind of talking about that. But yeah, so we have Most People Aren't Weird by Heinrich et al. Like I told you about. The Importance of Diversity in Cognitive Neuroscience by Dotson and Durante. Not this big, huge racial type thing, but mothering children of color with invisible disabilities in the age of neuroscience by Linda Blum. This one was really good read because it was talking about how a lot of like African American boys are misdiagnosed and like given drugs and like pills and medication to normalize them. Towards Anti-Racist Neuroscience by O. Rollins. That was a good read as well. If I think of anything else, I'll drop it in the description, but these were some that really opened my eyeballs. And then like things that may not address, there were a lot of articles I read that didn't address this problem head on, but when you start reading it with this framework of like, okay, there is inequality within the way you're studying humans and trying to make generalizations about humans, it's kind of hard to like take off that lens. Now, I am not here to promote division. I'm not here to be like, well, if we don't know anything about, like, I'm not here to say one group is superior than the other. That is not it at all. All I'm trying to do is get us to like live in harmony, right? Like to find equality. That is what I want. Like, it's not to say one group is better than the other, which is what we have going on right now, but just like, can we understand both groups and see how to help both groups? That's what's important to me. And which is why we need more researchers to start looking at Black and brown populations and understand what is happening there, what is normal within those populations. Maybe it's not a deficit, maybe, you know, like there are things that are homogeneous and like, yes, we're all humans, so there are things that can be generalized across races and across cultures, but then there are differences and we have to be able to acknowledge that without saying one is better than the other. It can turn into a philosophical type of question, like what is our moral standard here? What do we think is like, why do we think something may be better than another? Why may something be more beneficial? Interesting, like one of my professors, we were talking about how a child may be born in a certain environment that may be adverse, like to their academic growth and that kind of stuff, but they adapt to be able to survive in that environment. This is something that obviously gets me riled up and very passionate, and I just want more people to know about it so that hopefully we can make a difference together and make a change without feeling like one person's superior than the next, one group is more capable than another. Like, we had that, been there, done that, don't ever want to repeat that again. But how I reacted to it, it was hard continuing my first semester with this information. It definitely had an emotional toll on me that I wasn't expecting. I would like start writing a paper and start crying in the middle of it, like, dang, I'm saying these things, like trying to make generalizations about our population, what we know, and trying to help students, but I don't really know who I'm helping here. Like, it's hard because it's like everything that I'm reading, I know that the population isn't truly representative of, like, their sample isn't truly representative of the population, yet I have to use that data as my building block for my own research. I think this is where like a lot of researchers get stuck. How do I answer the question that I feel is important while not neglecting the larger issue at hand? And there are some practical reasons as to why that may be difficult, like financial, demographic, lots of stuff, what's already been said, but that's where we're at. If y'all have ideas, drop it in the comments. I'm all ears. I'm just the first year, so I'm learning, and as I learn, I will continue to communicate this with you guys if you're interested. But yeah, that's all for this video. Like, subscribe, share, comment, the whole 9, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye. I wanted to educate. Okay, so portion, or really, what? Okay, anyway, etc.